Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to Popternative. This, of course, is the talk show and podcast where we have digital discussions, the worlds of TV, film, news, music, lifestyle, pop culture, everything really. Depending on the guest, we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. You will soon recognize my guest from a show that's going to be dropping on the CW called Kung Fu. You will also recognize him from Netflix's Never Have I Ever. Eddie Liu is with us. Eddie, welcome to Popternative, man.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
I'm excited to chat with you. I mean, it's interesting because, the trailer for Kung Fu drops, people watch the trailer, and trailers are very difficult because I find it's like you're giving someone a sample size, right?
Yeah.
But I think they knocked it out of the park with a trailer, and it's so exciting. We want to see it. They put a lot in there. How excited are you for this show to finally get released out there, Eddie?
It's honestly surreal. Like, we're excited, and it's odd. I'll tell you why. Because we started this during March of 2020, like just like 2 weeks before the pandemic finally hit everybody everywhere. And so we've been at this for a while, and we haven't really seen all that much. So we've just been kind of plugging away for a while, keeping our heads down and working quietly and all that stuff. And now it's finally coming, and we're just, I don't know. I feel like we're as eager as our closest friends and family who are also excited. We're pumped. There's so much going into it. There's so much about it. There's so much surrounding it, and now it's like it's finally here.
Absolutely. We'll get into it a little bit more, man. But for you specifically, in terms of like storytelling and acting, when did that kind of start for you? Was it at a young age, Eddie?
I was a pretty shy kid. I wasn't outgoing in the way that I felt like I could just jump into auditioning for a school play. I think in an alternate reality, I probably, if I didn't like play sports for one season, I probably would have tried to audition and then hopefully maybe would have landed like in the ensemble just out of a lack of male actors in school. I would like to think that maybe I would have had a chance to do that, but I didn't really start doing it. Like, I started auditioning for commercials when I was like 18. And then I would say I was using like part-time effort, just acting part-time. And if I could get a commercial here and there, which I did, like that was cool. But like my focus was getting like a 4-year degree in communications, like in public relations. But it wasn't until I graduated, like right around the time that I was graduating, was like, oh no, this is really what I want to do. So then like around the age of 21 was when I really started to pursue it with like full-time effort, full-time ambition, and full-time like purpose and work ethic. I started to go to acting school, and that's really when it took off.
Absolutely.
As far as like me, not took off. Like I didn't like get anything, but like
the interest,
really like
the
interest, the
interest,
passion
peaked.
was there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The interest peaked, and the work really began.
It's interesting you mentioned the commercials because I have a lot of friends that are actors, and they tell me a lot about how competitive the commercial. Like getting commercials,
It can be.
I hear it's like crazy.
That's a bizarre world, and by bizarre, I mean like of anything that I've ever booked, like I've been the most successful within my own career as far as commercials go. I've booked like a bunch, and I have friends who are like, "No, I don't like commercials. I never get them. I never book them," and I think that some people turn their noses up at commercial acting, but it's like you could pay for a semester of improv class with a paycheck or two. So like, I don't know, and new headshots with them. So like, I don't know, it's pretty good. The money can be pretty good, and also the experience is good too. Like I learned a lot from over the years of being on commercial sets.
Absolutely, no, for sure. Now, Kung Fu, people are excited about it. Can you tell us a little bit about without going into the spoilers, what can we expect from this show? This is a reboot, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. It's a reboot, and talk a little bit about what we expect and your character and everything, without spoilers, but give us a little bit of a taste, Eddie.
Yeah, I mean, first off, right there, you said the word reboot. We like the term reimagining. I feel like reimagining is more accurate to what we're doing with it. Kung Fu is an IP of it's a Warner Brothers property. I can't speak fully accurately on this topic. I think there might have been something to do with like using the name and all that stuff. But like our wonderful, brilliant showrunner, Christina Kim, our creator, she was able to get the rights to it, and she knew from the get-go that she wanted to have a kick-ass female lead and who's actually Asian. You know, crazy.
Yeah.
And she had very specific like what would you call it? There were specific things that she was not going to compromise and bend on, like things like
Correct.
that. So yeah, reimagining. It's a brand new story. I think if you're a fan of the old Kung Fu, I think you're still going to be into it because there are a lot of similarities. The action and the use of Kung Fu is very much at the forefront. And if I could whittle it down, it's a story about fighting for the little guy. It's about family. It's about friendship. It's about protecting your community and your home and like those you love the most, and more. There are other characters who fight for other things as well. I think that's what you can expect, and it's ultimately like a really fun adventure. There's like a treasure hunt element. There's a mythical element, which we do introduce a little bit in the beginning, but like that's going to pick up as we go further.
There's going to be a lot going on in it. And
Yeah, there's a
those
lot.
are the shows we love, right? We love watching
Yeah.
these shows that just kind of have a lot going on, and I don't think we're like in a position now where we're just. I mean, obviously there's those shows, Eddie, where you just put on, you sit down and you relax, right? And you're not really
Yeah.
overthinking it too much. Kind of like Never
Yeah.
Have I Ever, which we're gonna get into,
Yeah.
right?
You can
But
just kind of sit back and let it rip. But this one
shows
you
like
gotta. There's some detail.
yeah, shows like Kung Fu though, we want to pay attention. We want to see what's
Yeah.
happening. We want to kind
Yeah.
of decode everything.
Yes, there is decoding, there is investigating, there's researching, and there's like a bit of oh man, what's that term that people use when there's like when you got to catch something or find something, a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a MacGuffin element, and you can't deny why that works so great, why that makes storytelling so fun and so fun to watch because we're like there's a movement, there's a kinetic energy from story to story, from episode to episode, like looking for, like in our case, we have like a bunch of MacGuffins.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit quickly about your character?
Yeah, so I play a guy named Henry Yan. He is from Chinatown in San Francisco. His occupation would be grad student in Chinese history, and he also happens to teach martial arts and Tai Chi at the local Chinatown Community Center, which is like the town center hub where a lot of Asian Americans spend their time. You'll see seniors there, you'll see young people there. There's a medical clinic. You'll see people playing mahjong in the lobby and stuff like that. And Henry teaches Tai Chi to the people that go there. That's where he meets Nikki, our lead, and then there's also a library there. There's a bunch of things happening at the community center. There's always a lot of action at the community center. I'm always at the community center.
Yeah, you're always there.
I'm always there.
That's your place.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing. It's funny because, the trailer drops, people are talking about it. What's the reception been from your family and friends with the trailer so far?
It's been great. I think the trailer was one of those like benchmark moments for us as a cast and for our family and friends where we started to feel like, oh, like it's getting real. Like for a long time, like I said, with starting this a long time ago before the pandemic, which feels like an eternity ago because we've all been through so much. Just a lot of pride, a lot of excitement, a lot of anticipation. All kinds of mixed feelings and nerves and kind of like, oh, like we hope it's good. We hope people like it. We hope people receive it for what it is and for what we're trying to do.
It's an exciting time for the CW right now because they're just pumping out so many amazing shows. And it's also like shows that we know from the CW, like The Flash, the new, like the current season are just amazing. But there's all these kind of new shows, right? Like Superman and Lois and Batwoman, and we're loving all of them, right? And Kung Fu is going to kind of come into play. Is it just safe to say that it's just adding to the amazing kind of repertoire and reputation of the CW, Eddie?
Yeah, I think what CW, to me, they're an unsung hero in like spearheading diversity. They tend to cater to a more specific market, and I mean that in terms of like maybe like age demographics. Like my dad wouldn't go to the CW to watch it,
No.
typically. But what we see over the years, especially even with the superhero shows, is like diverse talent, diverse stories, diverse people, and CW has always been really good about that. And like, we're really happy that they are, delivering us to the screen and
Yeah,
a story with
you're
like an
part of the
Asian
CW.
centered cast.
Yeah, I know that's amazing. How I mean,
Yeah.
we can't stress enough how important that is too. Like the
No,
cast, like we can't.
just when we think we're done talking about it, boom, like we have to. It just comes up organically, and it's like it's almost like how can you not? I mean, I think for me, like I want to make art and entertainment, and I want to tell stories and whatnot, and it's like we shouldn't have to always come back down to doing our own like advocacy. But if we didn't, nobody else would.
Yeah,
So that's why it kind of keeps coming back to that. We have to keep speaking up for what we believe in and fighting for what we never had.
absolutely. Said never had. A little bit of good segue to the other show that I want to talk about. Never have I
Uh-huh.
ever.
Good segue. I'll take it. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that show so much, and
Me too.
it's just it was just so. I just enjoyed watching that show. What was it like being part of that show?
It was awesome. I really felt like it was an awesome mix of timing and luck and opportunity and like being at the right place at the right time. Um, at that point in my career, I was like, I had felt like I was ready for that kind of role, like a juicy guest star. Like for actors in the industry, there are like benchmarks that you try to clear, like your first co-star, your first juicy guest star, your first recurring this or that, and then like your first series regular, eventually, hopefully. And just everything about that like felt right. I had so much fun. Everybody there, the cast, the crew, everybody just lovely, top notch.
It's amazing. Getting
Yeah,
back to Kung Fu before we wrap up. The obvious answer to this question is you hope people enjoy it. You hope they recommend it to their family and friends. You hope they keep
yeah,
the conversation going. Diving into it a
yeah.
little bit more deeper, what do you hope people get out of Kung Fu when they watch it, Eddie?
Um, we want to change some minds. We want to let people let us into their homes
Yep.
and in their hearts, which, if that sounds a little cheesy, whatever. Um, it's crazy that in order for people to recognize the humanity in others, like sometimes it just takes seeing somebody like on a screen through that medium. It shouldn't have to come to that, but here we are. And to humanize people that look different from you, who have lived different life experiences from you, yeah, sometimes it does take some watching somebody on a screen in some kind of fiction or even like a documentary, like a nonfiction, like that. If that's what it takes, like let's do it, because especially lately over the past year or so, people who look like me for no good reason have just been physically, verbally, emotionally just under attack. I can sit here and point fingers. That would take me forever. I can sit here and rage about it, but then I would never get anything done. And so, what we're really just hoping is that you just see an Asian American family, a Chinese American group of people just being themselves. Like, we're not telling you how to be Asian American, we're just being it. We're not explaining it, we're just doing it. And what's crazy is that the more you watch it, the more you're going to see we actually do have more in common than we ever realized. Like, we can relate to what's going on with Nikki. We can relate to what's going on with her siblings and the parent
Yep.
dynamic, and what it is to find yourself and fight for your loved ones, what it is to be true to yourself. There are many characters. It's a really diverse cast, a really diverse story. So there's many characters to follow within our show, within our world, whom you can get behind.
Wow. No, I think you I think you said what needed to be said, basically.
Thank you. Oh God, thank God. Whew.
Eddie, thank you so much for coming on Popternative, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Pete. I'm glad to be here, and this is a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So they're gonna be able to see Kung Fu pretty soon,
Very soon, April 7th,
April 7th.
every Wednesday on the CW.
It's calm before the storm a little bit, eh? Like it's coming out soon.
It is. It is. I feel like I'm like, what do I do? So at the time that we're recording this, it's 1 week to go. I'm like, I gotta do laundry. I gotta like swift my floor. Like what else?
I gotta
What do I
set
do
the
here to get ready?
PVR.
Yeah, all that stuff. Yeah, it is the calm before the storm. Yeah, but you know, we're having a blast, and as crazy and infuriating as the news can be, I'm just glad that I can go to work with people I love, and we can just keep doing this. We got a few episodes left to put in the can, and yeah, we can't wait for you guys to see it.
And where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
On Instagram and Twitter, I am Eddie Liu Hu. That's EDDIELIUWHO.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for doing this. Congrats on Kung Fu, man. It's awesome to see, and I can't wait for everyone to see it, man. It's amazing.
Thank you, Pete. Appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Well, this has been Popternative. YouTube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Eddie Liu and Petey Pete's signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.